If you're a serious hunter and you haven't tried Hex yet, this is the edge you're missing. Hunters have always talked about animals having a sixth sense, feeling you before they ever see you. Hex works by completely blocking your body's natural energy, helping you get closer without tipping them off. Most hunters don't believe it at first, until they hunt in it. And once they do, it makes them believers fast. Go to hexhunting.com. That's HECS hunting.com. And use code WAYPOINT to save $20 on a full Hex system.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles Podcast, brought to you by Huntworth. Huntworth gear for all types of weather, all types of terrain, all types of budgets. It's clothing that just works. Check them out at huntworthgear.com. Now, today's podcast, we have, it's kind of a different kind of scenario. So, Ben from Yellowstone AI is someone who I was introduced to through a mutual friend, someone who's been running his cameras for about a year and a half now. And I got another buddy who's been running their cameras. All have nothing but good things to say. I was not aware until we started digging into this that they won the Best New Tech at ATA for 2026. And got to talking with them for the Bowman's Club fundraiser dinner for the MB Archery Foundation to support youth archery. I was looking for some trail cameras for some of the larger corporate tables, and I was able to be put in touch with Ben and got to talking with him, and he was really able to help us out, but really did appreciate the story and the, everything behind the cameras. They all come very highly regarded. And so we dive into, what is the reasoning behind a new trail camera? Like, why go into trail cameras? Why would someone want to switch? All of those questions that you might have when seeing a new to you camera pop up, or quote unquote, like the latest and greatest. So today's podcast is super fun. I had Nate Rozeveld on with us, and just got to go through this from both the public land and private land side. So always enjoy that, and definitely enjoy the podcast, and go over, check out our partners with Latitude Outdoors. You can use code BHC to save 15% over there. Big Shot Targets, you can save BCP 10% there. And they gave us for the fundraiser one of their quiver targets, one of the turkeys. And so those quiver targets, if you're not familiar with them, from Delta McKenzie, it's an app. You download the app, and then you can turn it on and then scan the turkey. Just open it up and it'll show you where the vitals are. It shows you what, if you would have hit what you were supposed to. And they have that for a bunch of different animals. And so there's going to be one at our fundraiser dinner as well. Super cool. I'll get a video out for you guys on that. Check out our friends at Zinger, Canati, and over at Genesis 3D. But as always, thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles Podcast. And today we were supposed to have Nate Rozeveld here in studio, but of course he's got a real job and he's got to work. So, but we're going to talk some trail cameras here. I've got Ben Vander Velden with Yellowstone AI. And so this is one of those podcasts where, we get introduced to a product, and a lot of times I don't like to say, oh, here's this product. I think it's great. Oh, I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, but it's going to be the best thing ever. However, I do have some friends who have run this product. I've got to see some interfacing with the app. And very, very impressed. They come highly regarded, and Ben is actually helping us out a tremendous amount with the Muskegon Bowman's Club and our foundation, and he's trying to get out there, and I just wanted to bring him on and kind of get the word out about these Yellowstone AI, and I think we'll get into it, but I think it's almost like a disservice because they did win Top Tech this year at the ATA show, and we'll get into that. And I feel like that's been kind of glossed over. We were at the ATA show, and I didn't see a whole lot about it. And then even going back and trying to like scrub the internet, wasn't able to like pick up on a whole lot of press or anything about that. So we'll kind of get into that. But so how are you doing today, Ben?
I'm great. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning here in Wisconsin, and I'm excited to be on the show with you guys.
So you're just coming off of a consumer show. Like those are a grind, lots of people, lots of explaining over and over and over the same thing, same question. So how have the shows been for you?
I'd say a pretty good start to the year in terms of shows. As a company, we never really did any advertising until last year. It's all been kind of word of mouth up until last year. And so we did our first show last year, and now we repeated that show this spring. Got a handful of other shows this spring. And it was, I'd say, really cool growth from last year to this year in terms of brand recognition. People who maybe bought a camera from us last year stop by, tell us that they loved it. They buy 3, 4, 5 more. And so I'd say pretty good start to the year for us in terms of shows.
And so getting into it, like what is your background? How did you end up here in the trail camera space?
Good question. So lifelong lover of hunting, fishing, camping, anything outdoors, and a career in working for a few different tech companies, a number of different roles. And as I was kind of growing in my career, I always found myself, working really hard Monday through Friday and then trying to escape to the woods on the weekends. And I always had this dream of someday starting some kind of outdoor technology business. I wasn't sure what it would be at first, but that was kind of always been a passion and a way for me to combine a couple things that I love. A couple of my mentors, a couple of uncles have kind of always encouraged me to be entrepreneurial, go start something for myself. And then as I got deep into the weeds, trail cameras seemed to be the place that we could make the most impact and have some success.
And I just got to say, why is that? Because like I've done, I feel like at this point, 1 million different podcasts, and broadheads, I feel like is the worst possible industry to get into. They're the best thing or they're the worst thing. And, that actually ruins somebody's hunt, and you are definitely like the fall guy. But trail cameras, on the other hand, is almost the same thing. Any Chinese manufacturer can make one, put it out there. They're available at big box stores. You have incredible amount of competition, right? And then you're dealing with these people with big budgets. And now when we get into the cell camera space, we have, does it work? Does the app work? All the interfacing. And then everything that we saw, for us in the mobile hunting world, and even dealing with like, quote unquote, like the small guy kind of like up against the Goliaths, the kind of like heart-wrenching stuff that we saw with Exodus. We had a personal connection with those guys. A lot of us met them at the shows, talked with them, we saw the media, all the things that they were doing. And then, they're basically crushed by, Chinese software engineers, essentially. So why trail cameras? Why did you think you could make such a big impact in trail cameras of all things?
Yeah, so it kind of felt like there's a lot of entrenched players in the space, but it felt like there was maybe a missing niche of, a really high quality trail camera and if you've got a question, if there's an issue for whatever reason, and your time is valuable as a hunter, you want to get an answer quickly, you want to get that camera up and running quickly. And it felt like we could kind of carve out a little niche at delivering a higher quality product, kind of backed by really good customer support that is based here in the U.S. and is really responsive. The last thing you want to do is go create a ticket and wait a day for a response. And you're out at your camera, you've got to get that thing going right now. And we take a lot of pride in helping people with that. And that's kind of allowed us to carve out a little bit of a space in the industry.
Go ahead, Nate.
I'll say, yeah, I am here just digitally. So, all you guys out there who hear Adam bash me all the time, I do try to work hard during certain times of the year so I can have more free time. That hunting thing that Ben was talking about, I try to do that in the fall. So, I got to juggle a lot of stuff. But no, Ben, I was just thinking, you're talking about the space and doing those things. And like Adam said, Exodus was kind of like the only cell camera I ever ran. I got on board with them right away because it was like what you just talked about. They were smaller. They were guys you could talk to, kind of a thing. And then from when I started with those cameras to what the space is like now is holy cow, it's way different. The cell camera game. So when were you kind of what time frame were you thinking about making this jump? I'm sure this has been more than a year or two. This has kind of been something you've been thinking about for a while.
Yeah, so good question. And so we started the business kind of with research and development in about 2018, and then sold our first gen camera starting in 2020. And so we've been around for a number of years. We've had 75 million pictures get taken by our cameras, but we still get a lot of people who are like, oh, who are these guys? I've never heard of them. And so that's kind of goes back to our approach of we're a family business. We don't have this huge marketing budget. We've intentionally not taken on any debt or any investors. And we could have done those things, hire a bunch of celebrities to go push our product, but we're taking more of the slow and steady growth approach. We don't really care to become the biggest cell cam provider in the market. We just want to carve out our space, let our kids grow up and be part of the business, and deliver a good product.
From that end, what are your biggest limitations? What outside of capital and all things being equal, as the technology progresses, what are your limitations trying to do things in-house, trying to do things in the US, with all of this talk of, chips and China and tariffs and all of these things?
Good question. Nothing jumps out as a huge limitation. Every day there's a new challenge, and we just put our heads together and we overcome that challenge. Kind of thinking longer term, nothing jumps out. Nothing scares us. There'll be problems to solve every single day, limitations that, get in the way. But I believe that, chaos and limitations just provide opportunities for the people who can solve them faster than others. And I'm excited when there's limitations and new things that get thrown at the industry, because that gives us a chance to leapfrog other companies.
Okay, so let me reframe it then in the fact that as hunters, and be it good or bad, we want everything immediately. The culture is, Amazon brings everything to your house, and it can bring it in an hour depending on where you live. And we have a world of thermal drones. We want quicker. We want on demand. So are there hardware limitations to what the cameras are capable of? Are there data limitations? What about networks? One of the questions, one of my listeners out in Montana, it seems like maybe Spy Point or somebody is able to now utilize a Starlink or something like that, and that seems to be the next thing. So from a hardware software thing, what is the rate limiting step on just live streaming a camera in the middle of the Rockies?
Good question. So I would say connectivity is probably the thing that's kind of holding the industry back from really growing outside of cell range. I do think satellite connected cameras will come to market sooner than later. There's still concern of power consumption and form factor as it relates to a satellite connected camera, but all of those things kind of get corrected and improved over time. So I think that will be like kind of a bottleneck facing the industry is, you can't put these things outside of cell range. I think that will change here in the next few years, and you'll start to see now satellite cameras everywhere, not just where you've got a connection to a cell tower.
And so does your background from tech, like, did that like naturally meld into like the cell cam trail camera space, or was that a new challenge for you?
So there were some new components, and I worked for a few different companies that were focused on wireless communication. So I had that kind of as a background. I'd done some smart IoT devices. So a lot of it was just kind of taking bits and pieces that I'd gathered over my career and then, put it all together in a camera, and then certainly a lot of kind of learning along the way.
Yeah, the one thing I like too, Adam, is he's talking about the little bit of the backstory or like when they started, like the amount of stuff that they've already worked through from 2020 or even 2018 to now. A lot that I remember like that being a big issue for a lot of companies, like the 5G stuff and trying to get all that. So I'm assuming you guys have kind of worked through a lot of that connectivity issues that a lot of companies were facing through those years.
Correct. Yeah. So when we first started, a lot of cameras were still connecting over 3G networks. Mm-hmm. And then there was when all the 3G networks were decommissioned, all of a sudden there are a lot of cameras that were not operational. We were lucky enough to have the foresight to not have a 3G camera. All of ours are 4G, using 4G technologies. But just the way you program a camera so that it is not impacted by that shutdown. Just a lot of foresight, and we try to not rush anything, make sure we're always making the best long-term decision for our customers and for our company.
So for myself personally, but I think that there's a lot of customers, a lot of people out there. Can you explain that for the flannel wearing, tobacco chewing, tree stand sitting guy, like 3G, 4G, LTE, 5G, like what does all that matter? Because when you get into an area that has bad service, like all of a sudden you got one bar, then you got 4 bars, but it's LTE or 4G or 3G or whatever. Like what does that mean? And then what does that mean in terms of cell cameras?
Yeah, so obviously 3G is older than LTE, which is not as good as 4G. LTE is kind of like on the process of getting to 4G. 5G is all the buzz in marketing over the last 4 years or so, maybe even longer. You don't see 5G cell cameras because 5G it's still, the chipsets are more expensive and they use a lot more power still. And like, quite frankly, you don't need 5G to upload picture or video to the cloud yet. At some point, you'll probably want that. But there hasn't been a need for the cell cam industry to jump into 5G and put the costs and the power burdens onto the customers. So you'll see basically everybody in the market is using 4G technologies, which are still very good. And we've probably got I'm going to say an 8 to 10 year runway before 4G networks get decommissioned as 5G and 6G, and then at some point 7G roll out.
And so does that just mean like upload speeds or the amount of data that it's able to accept or transmit at a certain speed, or how does that translate to what I care about?
Yeah, good question. So the bigger the number in front of the G, the more data, the faster that data can transmit. And so if you've got maybe a 2-minute connection to a cell tower, you can upload, if you've got a 4G connection, you can upload a lot more pictures and videos in that batch upload than you could if you had an older 3G camera.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, because it's just alphabet soup for probably most of the guys. And if you're looking at two and one's cheaper and the other one isn't, and this one does this and this one does that, and you don't know what that means, it's like, well, I don't know, this guy, this one's cheaper. I mean, and I think a lot of this stuff, I think there's two sets of hunters or people out there in any of these spaces. And one is they want the cheapest thing to do the job. There's another set of guys that say, I don't care what it costs. I want it to work when I need it to work. And I think the more information that you can have, especially like in this, because again, back to the broadhead discussion, I think everybody's been burned by a cell cam at some point. And that kind of comes back to like some of these other questions that they had, was like on the hardware side. It was the things that kept coming up were batteries, rechargeable batteries, battery life, ants, and squirrels chewing your wires and things. So from a hardware standpoint, like what does that look like on these, or what have you guys implemented to kind of thwart any of this stuff?
Yep, good question. So we sell rechargeable lithium-ion battery packs, and those are very popular. Majority of our customers use them. Our solar panels come with a we'll call it chew-proof cable that connects to the camera. Certainly animals will still chew through that. We are not going to BS anybody. Like, that happens from time to time. That's all covered by our lifetime warranty. And I, like, in terms of kind of protection against the elements, we're a family business based in northern Wisconsin. It gets cold in the winter. All of our neighbors and friends and family use our cameras, and the last thing we want is for somebody to get pissed off at us during hunting season on a cold day because their camera's not doing what it should. So we've kind of over-engineered things to make sure that the cameras work really well in a cold Wisconsin winter.
Okay. Nate, you're writing stuff down over there. What
yes,
you got?
I am. So I was just thinking of like a camera experience. So like full disclosure, I didn't use a single cell camera last year. When Exodus had their whole issue happen, I was pretty like upset because I had a lot of money invested those between me and my dad, and we have properties kind of like all over Michigan. Never really did too many out of state, but they could be 100 miles apart and around a big city, and then kind of in Timbuktu a little bit. So like cell service was kind of different. So I like the Exodus cameras because I never really had an issue. If I had service, when I set the camera, they always seem to be pretty good at staying connected. And then now, since I've been like really like looking at all these other cameras, I got buddies who got cameras in this state and over here and 2 hours this way and it's like they're constantly complaining about those cameras not being what's the word I'm looking for? Reliable isn't maybe consistent, like with taking pictures, or they just all of a sudden don't work and they got to go make a drive, and for some reason it took 100 pictures but the batteries are dead, and then they'll put new batteries in the camera and it'll take 1,000 pictures and they're like nothing. They just get really frustrated. So I'm more like concerned with like that kind of aspect of it, because like I'm thinking my cell cam strategy is going to be places that I can't get to easy. I want them to be, to work. And the ant thing is a huge thing, because I had one style of camera from them. I could leave that camera up all year with a solar panel and maybe, clean it, or, maybe in the middle of summertime when leaves came out, the solar panel couldn't get enough light out to go in there and swap a solar panel, until ants started getting in the new style camera. So like ants is a big thing for me, and connectivity is what I'm like super intrigued with. So I can leave them things, because I'm the guy that wants to go put this camera in a spot and never have to come back to it. Like I want to be able to hunt around it and do those kind of things. So that's kind of my like criteria. And then I have a couple other things too, but that kind of start out with what I'm curious about.
Gotcha. So let's talk about ants, and this is our camera. We've done our best to make it ant proof, but we still have, there's a little hole for the microphone so the videos can capture audio, and there are places where ants can get in. I'm not going to lie about that. It is very rare that we have ant issues. We do cover those with our lifetime warranty, but they are very few and far between. And then in terms of the reliability point, I'd say that's probably, if for our industry in general, that's among the biggest complaints. Like the whole point of a cell cam is, I set it, I forget it, I enjoy it, I don't have to go touch it. And with our Gen 1 cameras, there were some connectivity issues, and we always felt really bad, like, sorry, we don't know what's going on, we'll have to send you out to the camera. So when we launched our Gen 2 cameras, our Y2, we did a lot of engineering so that we have remote capabilities to retrieve logs, retrieve status reports, and do a lot of remote debugging. And we're pretty proud to say over half the time that there's an issue, we can resolve it without you having to go out to the camera. Nice. And so the whole point is save you that gas money, save you that time, save you that headache. Let our customer support team here help you with that.
Nice. And then when you talk about the warranty too, I have a thing quick on that. Like how quick is that turnaround? Like for a guy, let's say something crazy happens, it's July, I go put my cameras out and ants smoke the thing, or a tree falls. Like I had a camera get ruined from a tree falling this year. That was the first time that ever happened. Like when you start the process of doing a warranty claim, is that something that I'm sure you got a system, but like how quickly can guys kind of expect? Because I've seen and heard a lot of different warranty stuff kind of, and most of the time guys are like, I just go buy another camera because it's not worth the hassle.
Yep. And so we try to be a little different there too. It seems like most in the industry, you've got an issue. Okay, ship us your camera. We'll take a look at it. And then maybe we'll fix it. Maybe we'll ship you a new one back. And then you're without a camera for a month. So that's not very useful. Instead, you have an issue. We ship you a replacement camera. You, in that same box, you ship us your faulty camera back. And then it becomes our problem. There are certain situations where we may try and, like, let's say the issue is like your motion sensor cover, for example, woodpecker pecked a hole in it. For those, we would give you the option of just that next day shipping you that replacement part. You can pop some screws out and do the replacement yourself. If you don't want to do that, ship us your camera and then we'll replace that and send it right back to you. But when there's anything that goes wrong, whether it's our fault or not, we always use that touch point as an opportunity for us to kind of earn that customer's business for life and go out of our way to be fast and be reasonable and like treat them as if they were our neighbors.
Nice.
So what you're saying from the debugging standpoint, one of the questions that was brought up too, and it's one of the things that really was a stone in my shoe with cell cameras. And for anybody that's listening, and Nate knows this 100%, like I am not a maintenance guy. I destroy things. If it can be broken, I will break it. And I'm a 100% set it and forget it guy. And have to go out, retrieve a camera, bring it back, perform an update for the camera to work appropriately, and then bring it back out there, or download something to an SD card, put it in there, go back and forth. One of the questions was like, how much of these changes and things can you do from the app, and how fast do they take effect? So like if I delete something from the app, like if I delete pictures, do they delete on the SD card, etc.?
Gotcha. So everything that you do in our app makes it up to the camera, the next time that camera checks in, which is either going to be on a scheduled half hour or daily check-in, or whenever that camera sends a picture next. So, for example, you delete a bunch of pictures. If you delete them from your app, you can also then format the SD card from your app. Next time the camera checks in, it wipes all the pictures from the SD card. If there's a firmware update, you're not downloading something onto an SD card or buying an SD card with files on it. We do that automatically and remotely on our end. So it's a very hands-off approach for the end customer. And then, settings changes. If it's a windy day and you're getting a lot of pictures of grass blowing, you can dial back your sensitivity a few notches, let things settle down, and that settings update takes effect the next time the camera takes a picture and sends it.
What else you got, Nate? Because I'm going to go a completely different direction here.
Okay, there's some. I like the different stuff. One other thing how do you attach your cameras to the tree? I kind of looked on your website. Is it a strap? Is it a rope? Is it a buckle? Like, what do you guys have? Because that is one thing I don't. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So a couple different options. The cameras come with a strap. And then if you've got a Python cable lock, that could also go through there or through the front of your camera there.
Oh, nice.
And then we've got metal security boxes as well that could screw or attach to a tree.
And I'm bringing that up because there's sometimes you have a camera in a spot you don't want anyone to know there's a camera there. So I have a lot of buddies who will, use wire maybe or paracord, those kind of things. And looking at the back of that, you got plenty of support. So sometimes if you use like a paracord, you don't quite get this much tension. So having the ability to put that in a couple different spots depending on the tree is huge on that. So I do like that.
Good question.
All right, Adam, go for it, mister.
Well, so, like I said, you won the best tech at ATA, and the company is Yellowstone AI. So the only other company that I know that is in the hunting space that uses AI is SpartanForge.ai. And Bill built his company as an AI company that was going to use maps, and it's become like my favorite mapping software. And I just had the conversation with him, like, how has this like morphed into like what you were expecting? Are you still trying to use AI? What's going on? So from a trail camera side, like where does the AI come in? And like, was that one of your passions, or how does that incorporate?
Yeah, well,
good question.
I want to know why. Just not to jump you too much, Adam, but like you won Tech of the Year at ATA, and why do you feel like you as a company did so well with that?
Good question. I think it's probably a combination of our durability, reliability, remote debugging, and picture video quality. I think there are a lot of different factors that kind of all combined into winning that award. I don't honestly know which was important to each judge, but I think a lot of different things that kind of all came together for us.
Okay. All right. Now AI stuff. Let's get into it. Get our tinfoil hats on. Let's go.
So we don't have any like artificial intelligence in our system yet. But when we started the company, I knew that would happen at some point, and we needed a name that would grow with the company on our very long kind of tech roadmap. And so some places that I think AI makes some sense for cell cams, certainly species detection, detecting buck versus doe, etc. Some power management things. So like, hey, all of our pictures have weather data that come with them. So picture volume is increasing. There's no deer in these pictures. It's windy. Okay, we're going to dial back sensitivity for a half a day or a few hours, and then check back in again. I think there's just a lot of different things. Maybe batteries are starting to run low, so we're going to cut back on picture quantity or cut back on video. We're going to upload. We're going to batch upload, etc. So a lot of things to make that user experience very simple, as if you had somebody managing your camera for you.
And so what steps do you have in place? Like, are you beta testing any of that stuff? Are you writing that code now, or is that just down the road?
I'd say it's down the road. Maybe later this year, probably more like the following year, but we kind of take it based on demand from customers and what people are asking for, and as we prioritize what's on our roadmap.
That's tough because what people are asking for isn't always right?
Yep.
So again, I guess from that end and what people are asking for, like coming off of these shows, well, let's start this. So was this your first year going to ATA?
Yes, our first year at ATA.
Because ATA had like somewhat of a change in format this year, they allowed the public in, they had the shoot there. Did that affect your decision whether to attend ATA or not, having the public be there?
No, that really had no impact. So one of our big goals over the past few months and kind of going forward now is now that we've got like a product that's out there that competes with other guys in the higher end space, we've got support infrastructure in place, like all the kind of things are lining up. Now we're building out a dealer network. And so being at ATA was a good opportunity to network with dealers and start to build that dealer base. So having the public there for those 2 days was, I'd say, a cherry on top. Well, as long as we're in Indianapolis, we might as well meet with some local hunters. But our big drive there was to those days with the dealers and the press.
Okay. I was just curious because it was a different, like I said, it was a different format. And I saw a lot of companies or a few companies that were like, hadn't been there in a few years. And some of that played into the decision to go there. And then there were some smaller companies that hadn't been to ATA in years and years and years that went back. And so, like I said, I thought that was interesting. So, you having had a company for a few years, working through it, I just was curious from that end. And then coming off of these other shows, like what are the main questions? Like what are the questions? Like I said at the beginning, you're answering all these questions over and over and over and over again. Like, so what are the most common questions that you're answering? What are the questions that the people the answers they need to have?
Yep. So a lot of people ask, a little bit about company background. We never heard of you guys. Tell us a little bit about you. What makes you different? Pretty much everybody asks that. People are wondering about powering their cameras. We show them the solar panel, show them the battery packs. They ask about data plans. They ask about customer support. Is that going overseas? How do I engage with your team? They want to see a demo of the app. Really varies, but most people ask some combination of those questions as part of their thought process. And all the shows are really helpful for us to just get a sense of, what are the pain points from people with their current cell cams, and how do we continue to improve and make things better?
And so I told you, like, prior to this, like the way that I approach things is like there's a standard, and then like how do you stack up against the standard? So prior to 2018, when you were entering the cell cam market, like what did you see? What cameras were you running, and what problems did you seek to improve upon?
So Cuddyback and Spy Point were two that I had a lot of experience with prior to starting this thing. And like, I don't want to say anything bad about any competitor. Like, I'd say every company in this space does a pretty good job. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. But I always kind of felt like the missing pieces were, we need something a little bit higher quality, a little bit simpler to set up and use. At that time, most cell cams were pretty clunky, and like as a pretty knowledgeable guy when it comes to tech, like I was okay, but I remember thinking we can make these camera setups so much easier. And so easier setup, a little bit higher quality were two of the things that I immediately thought, okay, if we're going to do this thing, these are going to be the places that we can make an impact here pretty early.
And so kind of like from that end and kind of moving into like pricing structure from plans and stuff like that, because, personally, like Nate and I think somewhere in some combination, I have 7 or 8 cameras out, and some of them are here, some of them are there. We have guys that have 10 or 15. And then as far as total cameras, like I know a guy that's running cameras, not all cell cameras, obviously, that are in the hundreds. So the pricing can add up really quickly. But from a business owner standpoint, or maybe even from like a major company standpoint, it would seem that and I deal with this like kind of like in my industry, like anything that's like subscription based or that's proprietary, you don't make any money off the camera. So you could give them the cheapest camera does the job, and you just get money off of the subscription. And then you get people who just want to buy, just get a new camera, kind of like what Nate was saying, like, don't worry about the warranty. The cameras are so cheap. Well, I'll just buy another one. Who cares? And I've already got so much money wrapped up into these other 10 cameras that it doesn't make any sense for me to switch everything over. So from a pricing standpoint, like, how do you guys approach that stack up? What's the going from like the standard to like, what do you guys offer that would set you apart?
Gotcha. Good question. And I would say our model is pretty similar. We don't really make much of a profit on the sale of a camera. We do make, like, as a business, we are very transparent. We are not the cheapest. We don't engage in like this race to the bottom that has caused, other companies in general to go out of business. You're cutting margins so low, banking on huge volume, and then, something goes wrong. And all of a sudden you can't support this very low margin business that you've amassed. So we don't gouge people, but we make a fair profit so we can remain in business and service those customers for the long term. And then how our pricing model works, I don't believe that we should make any money selling somebody a camera. Like, that's not where we want to make our money. And I don't want to be a guy at an expo or on commercials, like, getting people to buy a camera that's no good. So we sell them a camera. We don't make any money on that. But as they use that camera after year after year after year, and it continues to work really well, that's when we earn our profit, is on that customer coming back again and again and again, using that camera, buying more cameras, telling all their friends about them.
And for the plans, like, from like a pricing breakdown for one camera to 10 cameras or whatever, because I know you have like some breaks, like once you get up to the 10 camera range. And it's funny because using your AI moniker, I put everything into ChatGPT and I kind of ran the numbers on if I ran all of these cameras side by side, like what the pricing structure came out and like who was the best, who was the cheapest, and all that stuff. So where do you think you guys fall in that?
So good question. I would say our data plans are in the ballpark with some competitors, but I'd say probably a little bit higher than most. And that kind of comes back to the fact that we've got a lot of investment in remote troubleshooting capabilities, like we talked about. Our support team is all here in the U.S. and is very responsive, very knowledgeable, very empowered to go and make that customer's day. And so all those things cost us a little bit of money. Ultimately, even if you're paying us a little bit more on your data plans, our hope is that we have the lowest total cost of ownership, because we're saving you trips out to your camera, we're saving you headache, we're saving you gas money, saving you time. So when you factor in everything, we try to bring a lot of value there. But just looking at the data plan costs, we are going to be, I'd say, in the upper end of the industry in terms of cost.
Even though you guys share kind of the plans, like if two cameras have the same plan, they will kind of share the data between the two of them. You think you're still a little high on the cost?
I think so. I think we're still I think we're in the ballpark. But if you've got like two cameras, like you said, each one has its own subscription, and then one goes over, one is under, they can share data with each other. That part, like, I think that makes things more attractive, but yeah. I'd say, like, we don't have a free tier like SpyPoint does. We don't believe in, getting people hooked with some very low amount of data and then knowing that they're going to have to upsell to a more expensive package. So our data plans are what they are. The dollar number is a little bit more expensive than most. Our plans are all inclusive, so we don't charge extra fees for HD or requests or video or multi-shot or things like that. But just looking at the numbers, I'd say we're in the upper end of the cell cam space.
Yeah, I was looking at it from more of like a multiple camera thing, because like me and my dad always have shared cameras, and it's like I've done it for years, and having the ability to share data has been crucial, because you never really know what camera is going to hit off especially when you're leaving these cameras up a lot. And I like that ability to share the data with a camera, because I might go, I don't want to just have an unlimited plan on a camera if I don't have to have it. And sometimes I feel like when I was looking at some of the other options out there, it was like I might as well just do the unlimited, because I don't know, right? Or you get to pay so much extra if you go over or something like that. So I do like that structure, and I guess it does make a little bit of sense of it being a little bit maybe more expensive if you're running a camera or two. But I think guys who look at it, maybe I'd love to know what people who run multiple, like over 10 cameras, how they feel like it is on the budget. But the quick stuff I was doing, I was like, this kind of actually makes a little bit more sense having data plans structured this way for, like, I'll be running potentially 15 to 20 cell cameras. So that's what I was kind of looking at, I guess, from that space a little bit more.
Gotcha. Makes sense. And you hit on a kind of a very prevalent question or fear. Everybody thinks that their cameras take a lot more pictures than they actually do. So everybody thinks they need an unlimited plan, even though very few people actually do. At some point, that's just kind of a side note that we observe in a lot of conversations.
Yeah, because we're not bait state, right? Like, it may be guys who have my buddy in Oklahoma who's got pigs and birds and deer on his spin feeders going, like, he could probably burn through some crazy amount of pictures in a day. I have a lot of deer in my area, but I don't know if I have that, I don't get that many pictures, especially if I don't have that pesky weed going, just whipping back and forth the whole time,
Yep.
And there is, so looking at your plans, there was a couple of things that kind of stood out. So you had like some like elite option that kind of like was something, so we can talk about that. And it seems like that kind of like just was included if you had 10 or more cameras, right?
Yep.
And then it was like if you changed a plan midstream or something, it was like prorated one way or the other, which I thought was pretty interesting. So can you kind of elaborate on both of those?
Yeah, so our Elite Club, a few different benefits. You get theft protection, you get reduced data plans, you get advanced replacements, you get, we do giveaways and things like that. But then I think the thing that is unique for us in the industry is the flex billing that you mentioned, how we prorate everything. So maybe halfway through the month, you're using less data than you thought or more data than you thought. You can make a change mid-month, and then you just pay the difference in plan for the rest of that month. You're not buying a new plan. And then where that delivers even more savings is, let's say all of your data plans just renewed on January 1st, and your hunting seasons are over. You don't need the cameras for January. You're going to pull them in for a few months. But you're like, well, son of a gun, I just paid all this money for my data plans for January. With us, you turn the plans off on January 1st or January 2nd, and then you have 30 days of free data when you reactivate them in the spring or the summer. Like, that money is not up in smoke. Like, you still get credit for that payment that you made. Just seems like the fair way to do it. So that's why we structured it that way.
And it doesn't really, I think, go out and say that on, not that in particular, but on the website and looking at the plans. But the way that I'm understanding or interpreting them, it seems like they're just strictly based on data. Like, so these other plans, they say this many pictures, this many whatever, this many videos. And from your plans, it seems to be just like a data plan. So like, it doesn't really matter. If you want all HD videos, that just chips away at your data. If you want all HD pictures, it chips away at your data. If you want just regular pictures, it's just chipping away at this big data pool. Is that the way that I'm understanding it correctly?
Yep. So that is correct. And we thought, rather than nickel and dime people for the little things that they want to add, let's just give people a big chunk of data and let them be adults with however they want to use it. It makes no difference to us. So that's, you are seeing that exactly right.
Okay. Because like I said, it doesn't exactly say that, like in very transparent terms, but like, because it says some sort of videos and pictures and whatever, but then it just says this is an X amount of data plan. And so that I was looking at it and I'm going, well, and it's just sharing it. So when you batch all these cameras, it must just be like, this is your amount of data that you purchased So you're just grabbing it from what you purchased.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
That's why I like it, because I'm going to have a high amount of cameras across the whole thing. And it's like, dude, we can pick like a tier that I feel like is, decent. And if they share it, then it's like, cool. And then you can like look at it. It's like, oh, well, this month I can maybe drop it down, or if I got to increase it, I can increase it. And then in the off season, whatever, you can keep them out there on a lower, like I like that flexibility to be able to go through and change that. And then that kind of leads me to the question of the app. So like talked about how I share cameras with my dad and apps and technology. He's not quite a boomer, but he gets a little frustrated with his fat thumbs. How is the interface with your app and doing these changes that we're talking about and going through that system?
So we, a couple points on that. We try to make it as simple as possible. And like my dad is an old man who sucks with technology. All of his friends are old men who suck with technology. So whenever we launch something new, one of my litmus tests is, can my old dad explain it to his old friends without any issues? And so there are a lot of times where we get feature requests from customers almost every day. Can you add this to the app? Can you do this? Can you make it do that? And more often than not, we say no, not because we can't do it, but because we want to keep that user interface as simple as possible. We're going to give you the tools that you need without a bunch of extra clutter. And so we try to make everything just a couple of clicks in the app, and then you change your data plan, you've changed your settings, it's intuitive. So I think that's a kind of a differentiator for us, is the simplicity and the ease of use of our app.
Now, would me and my dad share a same login, or can he have like his own login and we share the cameras?
Good question. So you can do that either way. You could set all the cameras up on your account and then share some to his account. Or you could the two of you could simply share a login. We don't boot you out for having multiple people logged in at the same time. So yeah,
exactly how I'll do it. If I do it, one login to rule them all. I like
now,
that.
if you were hunting 4 different pieces of property and you had maybe a couple buddies that you shared one property with, you can always just share those cameras to their app so they can see those pictures without seeing all the rest of your pictures.
Nice.
So what's been the biggest, most like eye-opening thing that you didn't expect going into this, both good and bad?
Good question. So I would say one of the challenges that I wasn't quite ready for was like people are so entrenched with what they currently have. So you can have something that's better, but it's like I've got a bunch of these old XYZ camera. I understand how the app works, sort of. I'm not ready to make the switch, even though pricing is good, quality is great, support is great. Like we check all the boxes. They're just so entrenched in what they currently have. So that's made, I'd say, sales a little bit more challenging than I was expecting. That's, I'd say, one of the bigger surprises. But in terms of kind of a positive surprise, like you never know what type of interactions you're going to have with your customers, right? Especially like on the customer support side. But so many of our customers are friendly and helpful. And, they call with a question, we take care of them. And then all of a sudden we're chit-chatting for 15 minutes about their families and their kids. And just like the interactions with the customers that are very positive, that have kind of become friends over the years, is probably one of the things that I wasn't really planning on when I started this thing. But it's a really cool part of the business.
And so you said it's a family business. Like, how big is your team?
Good question. So there are, we'll say 4.5 of us.
You got a kid working for you, or what? Like, what's the
maybe 4 3/4. The kids help out when they can. It's my wife, myself, my brother, and then 2 other employees, and then the kids will chip in when they can.
Nice, love it.
Love it. Yeah, so just the reason that I asked that is because, like I said, with the other AI company, right, Spartan Forge, I think their team is like 8. And, with software and, as the thing scales and demand and like how much code and things is involved in cell cams and apps? Like, how fast is the cell cam industry moving?
Good question. So I would say every week, maybe every couple of weeks, we're adding something new. Most of our changes are to our app, ways to make bulk deleting easier or making our map page a little bit more intuitive. So most of our iterations are on our app, but it's, it kind of goes in spurts, but there are times when we are constantly cranking out new features. And then there are times where we just kind of sit back and let things simmer. On the device side, we do firmware updates periodically, but those aren't nearly as substantial. Maybe we're fixing something or improving something. But like on the device side, we believe in kind of longer product life cycles. We don't come out with a iPhone 16, iPhone 17 every single year with a minor update to get people to buy more cameras. We think it's best if that customer doesn't have to buy a new camera. So when we launch a new camera, it's kind of cutting edge, top of the market, and we let that thing be our flagship camera for a few years before we launch a new one. So we're pretty thoughtful with adding the complexities of new hardware models.
Into that, and that's the way that you're making the software updates and you're writing the software in the app so that everything is integrated, because that has been like some of the pet peeves with having to force updates and things where some of these other companies have the newest iteration of a camera. Well, it's the same thing where you have to update your iPhone every 20 minutes because all these apps don't align. The app doesn't jive with the camera any longer. So that allows you to kind of just stick to one thing and improve the customer experience and interface as best as possible on that same camera.
Yep, exactly. So customer experience is better. It's simpler for our support team. Like, our support team is great, but if they had 20 different SKUs to manage, then all of a sudden somebody calls and they've got to go check a manual and they've got to walk through steps and refresh themselves. If we minimize the number of SKUs, it's so much easier. Okay, I have that camera right here. I can walk you through exactly what to do. So a lot of different reasons for that simplicity, but customer support and just better customer experience are the big ones.
And inventory, right? Like, you just have the cameras, parts, and stuff ready. I mean, I dealt with the truck I just got rid of, man. I got screwed over on parts hard because it was a newer thing and taking forever to get it, blah, blah, blah. You got a camera that's a workhorse for you. You know the ins and outs. You know, I need to have X amount of this stuff laying around because that's what's typically, woodpeckers are really bad in this time of year. We need to have these sensors or, that kind of stuff. I'm starting to get a little older, and I like that kind of reliability. Like, hey, this stuff's worked. Let's keep using this stuff. This whole new flashy isn't always the latest and greatest. Isn't always the greatest.
Yep, exactly.
So from that, like, positive and negative thing and customer feedback, has there been any pushback or anything on just having a small amount of SKUs? Because sometimes when you have like a relatively like new company coming out of, and again, it's overnight success, right? You got, almost a decade's worth of work, and like, okay, now this brand new company, right? Yep. And then you go on the website or you're at the show and you're like, well, these are the one camera that we have, that we offer. Like, is there any pushback on just having like one offering?
So sometimes we get people, like, one example is our flash. Our flash is a total blackout flash, invisible. We get some people who would rather have a red glow flash so their night pictures are a little bit cleaner, a little bit crisper. And we're like, obviously I'd love to sell that person a camera, but not at the risk of adding a bunch of complexity. So, sometimes the right answer is, sorry, there are a lot of other cameras in the space that can help you with that specific need. That's just not how we operate.
I think that's the first time you've sounded like you're from Wisconsin.
Yeah,
that's the first story that I've heard.
I love it.
was thinking that you were lying, like you're in Silicon Valley somewhere.
Nope.
Saying,
I lived in Colorado for a decade and a half. Maybe I lost a little bit of my accent.
That's great.
But you caught it, right, Nate?
Oh yeah, I heard it and I was like, "Yep, there it is." I love it. We get made fun of all the time being in Michigan too for the way we talk, so I like it when I can hear it in other people. It's great. It's great. I know we're kind of getting close on time, maybe, but one thing that I'm intrigued with, looking on the on top of all this other stuff, is the solar and the lithium battery packs. I don't have any experience with a lithium battery rechargeable pack, but I have a lot of experience with solar, and I've used. So maybe if you want a quick touch on those two things, I can just tell you that I've used the really cheap solar panels on Amazon, and they sometimes, I would say overall, like I feel like for the money, I got my value out of them. And then I have one solar that was probably 3 times the money, and that for sure worked. Like if I were to say which one's better, I would say that one from a, amount of sunlight needed to do what I want it to do. So what's kind of your guys' thing with your solar panels? Look a little different from the pictures than what I'm used to, and then so maybe touch on that, and then this lithium battery pack. Like, what are guys experiencing in the field with those things?
Yeah, so with the price of AA's nowadays, a lot of people are opting for our battery packs, and the battery pack can charge up with a solar panel. I'll show you the solar panels in a second. They can also charge up at home. So it's not uncommon if someone's running 6 cameras, maybe they've got 8 battery packs, 2 charging at home. Then they get that notification battery level's getting low. Next time they're out at their camera, swap it out, and then bring that other one home to recharge. Overall, pretty good feedback on our battery packs. Again, these are 18650 kind of off the shelf lithium-ion batteries. We didn't invent them, but there are different chemistries that you can use for your 18650. We opted for a chemistry that does a little better in cold weather. So, whereas alkaline batteries, for example, a couple cold Midwestern nights and those things are zapped. We've had really good feedback and success running those battery packs through the winter. And then in terms of solar, I don't have one set up, but let me bear with me a second. Our solar panels are a little different than others. Every other cell cam solar panel on the market is the solar panel, plus then sitting behind it, you've got batteries.
Yes.
And solar panel charges the batteries flow into your camera. We thought, we've already got rechargeable battery packs and charging circuitry here. Why double up? So this is nothing more than a solar panel with a bracket and a cable. And that allows this thing to be much lighter weight, much easier to handle. And we remove some points of failure that, as you hit on, were kind of common points of failure in the industry. So now none of that exists here. This feeds right into that battery pack and keeps that battery pack charged.
No crazy angle bracket with a ball joint on it that you're trying to screw to the tree and pray it stays, and you come back later. It's that's why it's not working, because it's now facing the tree or the ground. Yeah. So I like that bracket's built. So that bracket's built into the frame of that solar panel.
So it screws onto the solar panel very quickly, and then it's at an angle that is pretty ideal for most people in the country most of the time. You got some guys who want to adjust that angle, and they can. But for most people, it's a set it and forget it. I don't have to go see what my angle of sunlight is in the winter and the fall. So try to make that as easy as we could.
Yeah. Adam, don't you just love the idea of solar panels and all the big woods public land hunting you do,
Yeah. Look at me.
Yeah, look at you. You get so many pictures of deer in your public spots, you need a solar panel. That's why. Yeah. Must be nice, right? Must be nice.
Mr. Must be nice over here. His wall looks different than my wall. But there was one other thing that people had brought up from a security standpoint, as far as GPS tracking or theft or any of that stuff. What is built in, or is there anything to be able to track these cameras down if somebody does take it?
Yep. So the cameras are GPS tracked. So For as long as that camera is powered on and that SIM card is in the camera will report a location, and then you can go and find that person. Ideally, you'll get maybe a picture or a video of them taking your camera. We see that pretty often. Eventually, the thief may turn the power off, may take that SIM card out, maybe take the antenna off, and then at that point, it can't be tracked anymore. But the camera can't be activated onto a new account. So we kind of lock that camera down. All of our cameras can't be added without the permission of the previous owner. So we try to use that as a tool to deter theft. Doesn't always work. Cameras still get stolen. But as part of our elite club, we do offer theft protection in the event that a camera gets stolen. So try to help people out on that front too.
Okay. All right. What else you got, Nate?
I was just thinking I could find all Jake and Eric's spots with that GPS. These spots I hear about, I can go find them. So, but
yeah.
No,
you'd be like, hey guys, just come on my plan.
Yeah,
like,
we'll share this.
Up.
No big
we'll
deal.
Just share data. Yeah.
This. No, overall, man, I'm intrigued definitely with the camera. I think it's pretty cool to know that the small business side of things, right? Like, because that's my space. That's what I do in a day to day. Small teams trying to do big things, and there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. There's a lot of time that went in to get to the point we're at right now. It sounds like the same thing for you, thinking about this, almost a decade ago. It's crazy to think that's how long ago 2018 was, 8 years. So a lot of stuff went into it, and I like the idea of a camera that's robust and can handle some stuff. I've seen, like I said, the tree that fell, it didn't fall very far, but that camera just shattered. I'm like, man, this plastic is like way thinner than I thought. So I do appreciate some thought going into durability on that stuff. For sure. Yep. That's one of our big selling points. One of the things that we value very much.
Yeah. And like I said, I generally hate to do these ones where I haven't had like hands-on or experience, but like I said, I have had like an experience using the app and going through all of that and seeing it. And one of the things, I was actually really surprised to hear that there was no AI like built into the cameras because of the quality of the pictures. And I thought that was like that the pictures were like AI enhanced or something, because that's honest to God truth. Like I thought that's what the like technology piece like that won you the thing was. So because all the pictures that I've seen both in person and the stuff that's been put out online, the pictures and the videos in particular have just been amazing. And so I thought that's what was like driving the whole thing.
Yeah. So at some point we may introduce some AI to enhance pictures and videos, but right now we don't. That's just how our cameras take picture and video. And we do hear that a lot, actually, even from like content creators. Like, I'm switching all my cameras to you guys because my livelihood is high quality video, and your video is just better than most others out there. Yeah, at TAC was the first time I seen pictures of your camera, and guy showed me. He's like, "Have you heard of these guys?" I was like, "No." I'm like, "Sure." Well, he showed me, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, those are really nice pictures and video. That definitely did jump out on that. So whatever you guys figured out with that camera, it definitely works. In that regard. So awesome. Glad to hear that.
Yeah. And again, like I said, Ben has helped us out so much with Muskegon Bowman's Club and the fundraiser dinner. Like, we can't thank you enough. And literally, I will have a truckload of cameras here to dole out. And so Nate and his family will have some, and I'll have some, but and that's for the fundraiser dinner. That's not for us for the podcast or anything like that. That's Ben helping out for the kids and the foundation, and doing it for the right reasons, not for us as podcasters or anything like that. So I just want to make that clear that this isn't, another guy just saying like, oh, these are the best cameras because, he's doing this and we're here to gain for it. No, this is us trying to, put this information out there for a great guy doing great things. And it's something that we're truly interested in. So again, I just want to say thank you so much for helping us out.
You're welcome, Adam. Happy to help. It's a great cause, and yeah, that's why we do what we do, to be able to help on things like that.
So if people want more information, or you said you have some more shows coming up, like where can they, go see these things in person, check out the website, follow along, see any videos or things that you're putting out?
Yep. So they can follow us on Facebook, check out our website, Yellowstone AI. We'll be at the Iowa Deer Classic this weekend. There's an open season show in Wisconsin Dells coming up late March, and then more shows coming throughout the year. So would love to meet everybody, even if they don't buy a camera. Stop by, say hi, and shake hands, and just talk a little bit.
Awesome. Well, again, we really appreciate it. Thank you, Ben.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Nate. You guys have a good one.